All right. Welcome back to Detour Sounds. This is Ryan Rambo coming to you from the suburbs of Chicago. We've got something a little different planned for today's episode. We thought it would be fun to discuss some of our favorite live show experiences and talk about some of our friends' experiences as well. Matt got on a call with our good friend Kyle Schrowang to discuss some of his top live shows, including an Odyssey type adventure he took to see the OCs in California. After that, we hear from our buddy Dan Hengelmann to hear some of his favorite live show memories. And then next week, Matt and I will talk about ours. Hope you enjoy.
This call will be recorded. Okay.
All right, Rambo. I appreciate you taking all my dumb banter out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to welcome our guest, Kyle Schrowang. Am I pronouncing that right? I know.
Schrowang.
Okay. And he is. So we were talking about memorable live shows, and in fact, like how you and I met was we were going to a live show, the OCs in Chicago, the annual trip they make every October. And we have a mutual friend, Dan Hengelmann, who has, been contributed to this podcast as well. So, you told me, you have such great stories about, seeing live music, and, you turned me on to, a bunch of, cool bands, and certainly the OCs are at the top. I mean, they're definitely one of my favorite live shows. I, try not to miss that, that week in Chicago, and especially hanging out with you and Dan. It's such a great time, and of course your wife and Jenny, and not that anybody knows, but Kyle is not only a dad, he's a grandpa, and so he's a cool grandpa. I mean, how cool! I don't think my grandpa probably ever saw live music, but he was a cool guy. Anyhow, so Kyle, will tell us just a little bit about yourself. Where you're from. How you kind of got into music. What's a little bit of your journey?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm a cool, unexpected grandpa at almost 43 years of age. But yeah, I'm from a small town, Illinois, a couple hours south of Chicago. I lived in Chicago from when I was 19 to 32, which really broadened my horizons musically as far as that goes, and got me into a bunch of different bands and met cool people who introduced me to different bands, and then just, being in the city, getting into that type of music. But I've always been a music aficionado. Um, Honestly, it started when I really got into the Velvet Underground. That's what really propelled me into getting into other cool bands, garage rock, punk rock, all that kind of stuff. But that was kind of my foundation.
Yeah,
I
they're
would say
kind of
my
a
foundation
gateway. They're kind of a gateway band for a lot of
to
different kinds of
everything,
music.
to everything. In my
Yeah,
opinion, they're the gateway to everything. They made 4 albums, and all 4 albums were completely different and inspired completely different genres of music from each album. I think they're the best band ever. Um, and then besides that, my other favorite band is Motorhead. But
yeah,
like, for me, everything stems from Velvet Underground, Motorhead, and Iggy and the Stooges. Like, I just love the rawness of all that, and I just love seeking out new music, new genres. Um, but yeah, I love all types of music, but a lot of it is rock and roll and blues based. Like, love Muddy Waters, Junior Wells, um, Howlin' Wolf, all that stuff is. it's just brilliant to me. A lot of jazz.
Yeah, the blues definitely. I was able to. Uh, I went to Mississippi March of last year, and was lucky. It was a golf trip for work, but they package it as a go play golf, eat good seafood, and then go up the west side of Mississippi through the Delta where blues essentially was founded. I stood at the corner of the crossroads where Robert Johnson, I guess the
Oh,
the
that's
mythology
awesome.
is like that's where he sold his soul to the devil. Like blues like that stuff. I mean, R.L. Burnside, Rambo and I have like we exchanged these old like R.L. Burnside videos. He's like playing in a field with like an acoustic guitar, and it just sounds like he has a big band. But yeah, so music is
And
yeah,
yeah, and I kind of almost look at that as uh, like punk music in a way.
sure, yeah,
It's not the same as like the Ramones or something, but like it was revolutionary. It was against the grain, um, and even some of my favorite musicians. I was telling you just earlier, trumpet players. I used to play trumpet, like listening to Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Roy Eldridge. Those guys, like they were just people who do something different that is so against the grain. Like I have always just latched onto that, and I just think that's like an like an awesome thing. I mean, I I tend more towards rock and roll, but blues, jazz, when it's like that, when it's just something so different and unique, I love that. That's the kind of stuff I just gravitate towards.
yeah, same. And yeah, yeah, like you said, we've talked about this on the podcast earlier. The sort of the whole kind of premise or idea of this is, getting off of the main road, taking that detour, and you'd be
Hmm.
surprised to find stuff that you really like, and then you find one band talk about Velvet Underground Blues. You listen to them, and then they take you somewhere to some other kind of musical genre. Then that takes you somewhere else, and all of a sudden you have
Yeah, it's
that
awesome.
kind of that that map in the basement with all the you know the push pins and the strings connecting everything, and it looks kind of crazy, but it all kind of makes sense. Um,
Right. And like you and I, well, texted recently, television. I would have never heard about television
oh
if I
yeah,
wasn't so into the Velvet Underground.
yeah. Did
And
I tell you? So I got
that Marquee Moon, I think that's one of the best albums I've ever listened to in
yeah,
my life. I would have never known about that had I not been into the Velvet Underground.
right. Yeah. So I that was weird because I think I texted you when I got that album because I had heard about it
Yeah,
somewhere, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is one of the best, and I hadn't listened to it much, and I started listening to it. I'm like, this is yeah. I mean,
ever.
it's
It's one of the
incredible.
best albums
Oh yeah.
ever.
Oh yeah. Without
Not just
question.
it's not just a good album. It's one of the best albums ever. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yes, and so this is all leading to then you have bands you love, and you of course you listen to them however you do, vinyl, CD, tape, uh, online, whatever. But some of the best ways to listen to music is actually going to see the band live, because you're really never going to see the same show twice. Uh, so
Right.
do you remember your first show? I mean, you mentioned living in Chicago for roughly 13 years. I lived there for 20, and I mean, what a great place to see live music. Uh, if you remember your first live show, who was it, and then tell me a little bit about the places you went in Chicago.
My
Oh,
first live show ever was Dishwalla opening for the Wallflowers at the Springfield State Fair.
Oh, okay.
And the Wallflowers, their frontman is Jacob Dylan, Bob Dylan's son. But that was
Yeah.
my first live show ever.
Yeah. All right.
Second live show ever was like, I think it was ZZ Top, Leonard Skinner.
Oh.
But in Chicago, I don't remember because I've seen so many
Oh
shows
no, yeah, no, I'm not
there.
trying to
But
put you on the spot to remember your first one in Chicago. But that's when
but those are my first live shows that I remember. What I just mentioned. Yeah.
so in Chicago, what I loved about that city. So I was lucky, I guess, in the sense I went to College University of Georgia in Athens, which is a huge music town, and they had a lot of small venues, and they were very supportive of local artists. I guess maybe we call underground artists that a lot of bands moved there to play because you could play a live show almost every night. And then living in Chicago, just all the great venues, big, small. I tend to,
Yeah.
skew toward the smaller ones, a couple hundred, capacity because I sort of the thing about live music for me is I like that intimacy. Like Talia Hall
Yeah.
in Pilsen is such a perfect size, especially for a band like the OC, so they can just have that, big
Yeah.
sound that they have. So yeah, so what were what just now that we're talking about that, what were some of your favorite venues in Chicago?
So yeah. Man. So I had some friends that played like like some jam band type things. So I would go to see them. But I really those were like bar venues. But I when I first started really going to like really good shows, Empty Bottle for
Yeah.
sure. The Hideout, love that
The
venue.
Hideout, one of my favorite.
The Hideout, great. Park West was great. Um, man, the
Shuba's,
Vic. Oh, Shuba's. Used to go to Shuba's all the time. Um, Beat Kitchen.
B Kitchen,
Beat
yeah. So I
Kitchen.
lived in that
Yeah,
neighborhood. That was my first neighborhood in Chicago. So I lived relatively within walking distance of B Kitchen.
that was always a good one. For a couple of years, I lived in Andersonville, um, which was right by uh, the Riv Theater, the Aragon,
Yeah.
and the Green Mill.
Yes. Green
And
Mill, yeah.
on Wednesdays, I think it was Wednesdays, I used to go see all the time Alfonso, or no, yeah, Alfonso Ponticelli and Swing Gitan, which was um, a band that would play Django Reinhardt music. Uh, they had originals, but they would play Django Reinhardt music, which he was a gypsy musician from France from the 30s who like revolutionized like how to play acoustic guitar and jazz music. Um, that was amazing. Going to see Alfonso Ponticelli. If you haven't heard him, look him up. If you haven't heard of Django Reinhardt, look him up. Amazing. Um, so yeah, that was cool. Living in Andersonville and being able to go to Green Mill all the time, Aragon, the Rib, that was always great. Um, but yeah, and just a lot of like just good bar shows and just going to local stuff like that was just always awesome.
So what was so now we're kind of getting to the point. So to kind of tease it, you told me a story. Gosh, it's probably been several months now when we were deciding to do this about um, a. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know the OCs, out of California. Well, I guess by way of Providence, Rhode Island, and but really in California. Uh, Ben, you can explain them to the people, but you made what I called an odyssey to see them. So just tell the little people about the OCs, because this is again, from the beginning, this is how we met. Going, that was my first OC show, was with you and Dan, and as I said, it was almost like a spiritual experience when seeing those two drummers on the front of the stage. I mean, I was like, gave me chills, and then just the way like Dwyer, kind of owns the stage, and I love the way he like holds the guitar just differently. I don't know. So anyway, so explain the OCs and then explain this show that you went to.
Yeah, so I don't remember exactly how I found them, but I was really getting into a lot of garage rock, psychedelic rock, and a lot of it was coming out of California. A lot of it was coming out of San Francisco at the time. I don't know, early 2010s, something like that. I think I'd found Ty Segall first.
Oh,
I was dating a girl in Bloomington, Indiana. Went down to that campus, saw Ty Segall and the War on Drugs in a tent in a parking lot on the Bloomington, Indiana campus. And somehow that led me to the OCs, right? And when I heard them, it was like, for me, it was like, if I could take everything I fucking love about rock and roll, all the weird stuff, all the shit I love, and put it into a blender, and what would come out was like, oh, John Dwyer and the OCs is doing that.
yeah.
That's how I felt about it.
That
Like,
that's a really good description, because
like,
I agree.
and I'm serious. That's how I felt about it. It's like,
Yeah.
if all the weird stuff, all the hard stuff, all the psychedelic stuff, all the different parts,
But
like, I'm like, seriously, that's how I felt about it. If I put it into a blender, I was like, holy shit, I don't have to do that because this guy is doing it.
yeah.
And so when I found that, it was kind of fucking mind blowing. It's like, I don't have to do that because, one, I'm not a musician, so I wouldn't know how to do that. But two, this guy's fucking doing that.
Yeah.
He's taking everything I fucking love and he's doing it. So that was just amazing. And I was listening, to these other artists out of California and San Francisco and the garage rock scene, the Fresh and Onlys, Ty Segall, bands like that. And yeah, so I was like, and I'd seen them a handful of times in Chicago, and so they're doing these 2 nights in San Francisco where they're from. I'm gonna go do this. And at the time, I'd been listening to like jam bands and stuff, which I like. It's not my bread and butter, but all my friends are. So I'm like, no one's gonna fly to California to go see these fucking weirdos with me. So I'm like, I'm gonna fucking go do it by myself. So I go do it, fly out there, stay in a fucking hostel, by myself. Never been to California before. Just fly out there by myself because I wanted to do it. And go to these 2 shows at the Chapel in San Francisco. And it's fucking great. First night, I'm down in front, moshing and fucking bumping into someone. And I turn around, and who is it? Ty Segall, the guy who essentially led me to the OCs, I was just like, holy fuck.
I don't know that I knew that part of this story. That's amazing.
Oh yeah. Like seriously, literally bumping shoulders, turn around, and I'm like, oh, you're Ty Segall. I mean, because like I said, somehow I heard him before the OCs, and he kind of led me to them. So then to be in San Francisco and to just be marching around and bumping shoulders and turn around and, oh, it's him, because, they're all friends.
Right.
But he's in the show just jumping around like I am.
He's a
It was
fan.
awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, I spent a couple days in San Francisco by myself, bump around to them. And I don't know. Here I am, 50 shows later. Going to see them in a fucking cave in Tennessee and
Yeah, so
seeing them in Chicago every year and
to talk about that, so
wherever I
we,
can.
as we said, we see them at Talia Hall in Chicago and Pilsen. They played, 2 nights, usually like I don't know, like middle October, and then in fact, like when
But
I moved
I
to,
used to go see. Those two shows were used to always be at the Empty Bottle
oh, they did. Oh,
until
I
they
did not.
got
Oh,
bigger.
that would
Oh yeah,
that would be wild.
yeah. I'd say the first 20 shows I saw them at in Chicago was at the Empty Bottle.
Oh man,
Yeah, crazy.
yeah,
I actually had a beer with John. Um, they had this band called the Liminanas. It's a husband and wife duo, Marie and Lionel Liminana. They're from France. France. They play a kind of a psychedelic, groovy Velvet Underground type of thing. If you haven't heard of them, check them out. It's super fucking cool. So I was very into them. They opened for the OCs at the Empty Bottle one time. I stayed late and ended up sitting at the bar with Marie and Lionel and John Dwyer and having a couple beers at the Empty Bottle. It was fucking awesome.
that is kind of the. I don't know if I have said it, since we recorded, but that's sort of the magic of live shows, especially at venues like that, where you know, I, I, you know, I know people like to see the big bands at the arenas. It's just not for me because I don't feel that
Nah.
kind of connection. But at a place like the Empty Bottle or B Kitchen or Shuba's, yeah, after the show, if you stick around long enough, yeah, you most likely will, you know, have a drink
Sitting having
pretty close
beer.
to
Yeah.
them, and yeah, it's like they're just normal people, doing a job, and yeah, that's what I love about that sort of stuff. My brother always kind of makes fun of me about telling those stories. It's like nobody cares. I'm like, I don't care. I love it.
Well, that was awesome. Yeah, and it's not like John Dwyer's ever gonna remember having a beer with me and
Right.
Marie and Lionel Liminana at the Empty Bottle in 2012 or whatever the fuck. But I remember it,
Yeah.
and it was a good experience. Like, and I don't expect him. He travels the fucking world. I don't expect him to remember it, but that was a cool experience for me. And all three of them were very awesome. Were very kind. We sat and had a beer together and talked, and for that 30 minutes, that was great. I would never expect them to give two thoughts about it, but like it was cool for me. And it's not that big a deal for me either. They're just people.
Right.
But
Yes.
in that moment, in that 30 minutes, it was cool. It was
Sure.
fun.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. No doubt. They're so one of my favorite bands, Guided by Voices. They I don't even know. They might not be touring anymore, but one of my best friends called him Dr. Matt, and he's the one that turned me on to him. I'd heard him when I was in college, but didn't really get into him much. And then when I moved to Chicago, we were next door neighbors, and it was one of his favorite bands. And then we started going to shows, and we went to one in Grand Rapids, and they were opening a new venue, Pyramid Scheme, and it was the very first show that was going to be at Pyramid Scheme. So we didn't, you don't realize that.
Pyramid Scheme? That's
Yeah,
the name of the venue?
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So it's in downtown Grand Rapids. I've never even been. He's from Detroit, but yeah, it's like, oh, they're opening this new venue, and it's not far from Chicago. And so we go, and it's awesome. Like they play 3 hours. They play like 70 songs. I mean, they're just wild. And so after the show, Dr. Matt is the kind of guy that, he likes to push boundaries and see what he can get away with. And so because it's a new venue, new operation, they're figuring things out. We just start pushing doors open, and we're now in the hallway, and we're walking down this hallway, and we look to the right or left, and the band is in this room, just on the couch, eating pizza and drinking beer, and we stop and be like, "Great show, guys," and they're like, "Do you guys want some beer?" We're like, "Yeah," and so we sat in the band's room drinking beer and eating pizza with them for like an hour, and
Nice.
like that sort of stuff, like but again, like they're not going to remember that. Maybe they do, but yeah, that
Right.
was like it's just at a moment. And you don't get too. I wasn't like over the top fanboyish, but it was super cool. But it was just like, yeah, they're just like regular dudes, and they were talking about needing to get. They're a little older than us, needing to get back, get some sleep because they got to play again the next night, and it's just like fun, like to see these bands at kind of the human level. Because for us, when we go see these shows, I mean, they're rock stars,
Yeah.
and then to see them, have a beer with them, they're like, oh yeah, you're just a regular dude who's or gal that's incredibly talented at this thing, and you make a lot of people happy. But yeah, I mean that story you told. I've told that story to so many people about you making a solo cross country trip to see the OCs, and but yeah, I did not know that you bumped into Ty Siegel at the
Yeah.
show. That's
Moshing. Yeah.
that's
It's great.
awesome. So do you think? I mean,
Another,
yeah, go ahead.
but this is a cool story. We go to the show. It's Project Object, which is a Frank Zappa cover band.
Okay. All right.
And the lead in the band is Ike Willis, who played with Frank Zappa through the 70s and 80s till Frank Zappa died. So go to the show. Dave Druitt from Ween, the bass player
Mm-hmm.
from Ween, he had a band who's opening for Project Object, who Ike Willis was headlining. I had a friend who was dabbling, so we got in. So after the show, we got to go backstage. So we're hanging out with Dave Druitt from Ween, bass player. We're hanging out with Ike Willis from Project Object, who played with Frank Zappa, and we are, doing things and drinking free beer and everything. So we're just partying with these guys: Dave Druitt, Ike Willis, Ween,
Yeah.
Frank Zappa, and he's telling us, we're drinking free Heinekens. He's telling us stories of hanging out with John Lennon and Frank Zappa and all this. Hanging out, his wife's calling him while we're in Martyrs back room at like 3 in the morning. We walked out of Martyrs at 5 a.m. when the people were cleaning up. That was cool. That was one of my best nights. Just hanging out with these two guys, Dave Druitt and Ike Willis, who would, Dave Druitt and Ween, Ike Willis, who's telling us stories about playing with Frank Zappa, playing with John Lennon, while we're, doing, getting, partying. We'll say that that was kind of like one of the biggest rock star moments I've had. It was like that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No. That is pretty awesome. Martyrs. That's a. I mean, I know people know it's a great venue, but I saw a band. Dr. Matt was part of the story too. We back when we were single, we just saw a bunch of live shows, and we just go in there and you just trust venues to have good bookers, and they're like, hey, the band that plays is probably going to be pretty good. And yeah, we go in there, no idea who's going to play, and it turns out it's this like 15-piece kind of folk band from Poland, and they were called the Warsaw Village Band. And I mean, they were playing instruments I've never seen in my life, and they were singing in Polish, and it was one of the best shows of like the sound. It was incredible, and like there was we had no expectation, we had no idea what we were going to see, and I left there. I'm like, that was amazing, and again, it's just sometimes you just have to you know take a chance and go see some music. You might turn. I mean, I still listen to them this day. Uh, yeah, Warsaw Village Band at Martyrs. Also, yeah, I've seen a lot of good shows. Uh, Martyrs, Two Cow Garage, which is a garage band from actually they're from the I think Columbus area, but saw them there. I think it's where they played at Subterranean, and this is back when they
Oh yeah,
were where
Subterranean.
they.
Hey, you could tell Rambo, or I guess who's gonna hear that. I saw the Growlers at
Oh
Subterranean
yeah,
like
oh wow, yeah.
way back in the day, and it was awesome.
He'll be very jealous
Yeah,
to hear that. He did
and
meet.
he might have been at that show. Who knows? But yeah, I met a girl that I dated for I don't know, maybe 6 months at that show. But yeah,
I
Growlers at the Subterranean was awesome.
I bet yeah, Subterranean was cool. And yeah, so this band Two Guy Garage, like I loved them. I think I've actually mentioned them on one of the earlier podcasts. I'm just going to a record store and it was a staff recommendation. I'm like, oh, they sound pretty cool. And I'm like, these guys are amazing. Like just you know, noisy guitar garage
And
band.
like, and like, really, so like, they're a California band, and like, that's how I can't tell you how I came around the Growlers, but it was all through like, I really think it was Ty Segall first, and he was, because they were all in San Francisco before they all went to LA. Ty Segall and the OCs, they were in San Francisco. Then they moved to LA. But I think that's like kind of what led me like to the Growlers and all those kind of bands like early on. Um, yeah, obviously I know Rambo's gonna hear this, but like Red Tide by the Growlers, that's fucking hooked me. That song is it's so spooky but surfy and psychedelic at the same time. It's great. Like I heard that song, I was like, this band is fucking cool. They're doing something that no one else is doing.
So when you describe like spooky, so when I met Rambo, we were working at this custom golf club company, and we were just talking music most of the day, and you know, I listened to those bands like Growlers and like China Rose somewhere, and I don't sometimes you think you come up with something, but you probably heard it somewhere. So I'm not claiming that I made this up. I probably heard it somewhere in my subconscious. But I started calling that kind of music doom wave, kind of like spooky, and then
Yeah.
like surf music, but kind of you
Well,
know,
to me, no, I get it. To me, it's like spooky surf circus
yeah, okay.
because somehow it's doomy. It sounds gloomy, but it sounds surfy, but also sounds kind of like circusy at the same time. I know that sounds totally fucking absurd,
But that
but
but that's
that's
what
what I think it sounds like.
but that's what's fun about it is you know
Absolutely. And when I was seeing them at the Subterranean at a 200-person venue,
yeah.
nobody nobody was doing that. This is some random fucking weird band from California. Nobody was doing that fuck 20 years ago.
And there's
That's
just something.
and it's just cool about finding music like that. It's just like finding just weird stuff like that, and I love that.
Yeah, same, and especially finding them at a venue, like seeing them play live, because you could hear the growlers or OCs on at home, and I mean I do I listen to that stuff at home, but there's just something extra special about seeing bands like that play live. It's just that energy. that you get from them playing for you. And
Yeah.
one of the things about the OCs now, I mean, not only do I just love the music and just, I mean, it's the loudest, I've been to, I mean, hundreds of shows, the loudest concert I've ever heard in my life. But what I appreciate so much, and I mentioned this to Rambo many times, is I mean, they don't disappoint. They know that you paid money to come see them play,
They
and
bring it.
it's yes, right. Like they're not like too cool to not try hard. Like they want to do a good job. Like that's their job, and
Yeah.
they
Like
and
they
I appreciate that so much because when I was younger and you're seeing these like indie bands and kind of that shoegazing stuff, and they're like too cool to act like they
well,
care.
and
And
that's
then like
what's
you're like, you know what, like that's at the end of the day, like you're like, you know what, that's just late. That's like a waste of time. Like like
and that's and yes, and you said something earlier about like, oh, what makes like going to good shows. That hits home. Going like going to a good show or going to a band you want to see. That's what's cool about it. It creates a community, even if it doesn't have to be some huge band, whatever, the Strokes were here in the stadium. It's like when you go to a fucking show, especially, I think, a small show, a band like the OCs, or you go see whoever, the Growlers, whoever, when you're in that space, you're all there for one fucking reason, right? You're all there to see that band. You're all there for the same reason, and that's very uniting, and and like that creates like an awesome community, especially I think more so with smaller shows in bands like that. Like if you go to an arena show at the United Center, I'm not trying to say you can't feel that same feeling because you can. Let's say you go see Taylor Swift at the United Center. You're all there to see Taylor Swift. I get it. But like when you all go to Talia Hall to see the OCs, that's such a niche thing. You're all there to fucking see them, right?
it
That's very connecting. Like you go to a small venue, there's no doubt you are all there for that. You're not just stumbling into that. You're
right.
all there for that. You know what I mean? Like
And
there's no doubt about it. Like no one's stumbling into the OCs at Thigh Hall. No one's stumbling in to the Growlers at the Subterranean. You know what I mean? You're all there for that. That's cool. That's connecting. So so right away you're all there. You're very connected. So you're all there for the same reasons. You're all enjoying the same thing. You're all on the same wavelength. Like that's powerful, I think, you know, with with live music. Like that's cool. That's fucking cool, I think.
no, I agree with everything you said, and it's it's like you are a part of. You mentioned community, which I completely agree with, and it's a lot of people from different backgrounds. Maybe some are like yourself from a small town. Some might be from a big city. Some the
And
others
it
are from
doesn't
in
matter. And
between.
it doesn't matter
It
when
doesn't
you're
matter.
there.
There's somebody
If
might
you're
be a
all there at
lawyer.
Thalia Hall for the OCs, you're all there for one
Yeah,
fucking reason.
yeah.
To see
Somebody
them.
somebody
It
might be a
don't matter
lawyer.
where
Somebody
the
might
fuck.
be a doctor. There's a writer there. There's a carpenter. There's an electrician, and you're all part of this kind of like little secret club in a way.
Yeah. That to me, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's fucking
I
awesome.
agree. And you all share this bond for the hour and a half or whatever you're there. And then sometimes, if you're at a record store or at another show and you're talking to somebody like, oh yeah, I saw this I saw the OCs and stuff. Like,
Yes.
I was there too.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah,
Yep.
like you have this connection with somebody you've never met in your life.
Yep.
But yeah, there's like just common thread. No, it's I'm not religious,
And that's beautiful.
but
I think that's beautiful.
but it's like spiritual in a lot of ways. There's just he mentioned energy about it. There's just something there. Like, and I love sports. I would go see a live show
It's
over
very
a live sporting
similar.
event
Yeah. No, it's
10
the same
times out of
thing.
10 times. Because sometimes the energy at live sporting events is so negative. Like, people are booing and like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't, like live shows.
But no
Everybody,
one's paying to go see a band that they want to go see and having negative energy.
right?
You're not paying your money and going there to not enjoy it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. So if
right.
you're there, you already know like all these people, 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, all these people are here for the same reason I am, and that's to have this great experience, and we're all here for the same reason. That's fucking cool.
I without question. Well, Kyle, yeah, as I said, meeting you was uh, such a joy for me because of this type of stuff. Like, we have, this connection, and even
Same.
wish we would see each other a little more
That's
often.
this
But
is basically proof of what we're just talking about.
right, yeah, no,
The
exactly.
fact that you and I are talking right now about all this, and you're having a podcast, that's the proof of what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, and it's great, and we appreciate you sharing all your stories with listeners, and we know we're not going to be changing the world here, but if somebody listens to it and goes out and buys an album of somebody that we've talked about, or takes a chance on going to see a live show of a band we talk about, and it ends up being kind of a lifelong thing for them. I think that's the coolest thing. Like that, if one
And it's also,
person listens to this and like, I want to go
it's
see the OCs
gratifying.
now.
Yeah, it's gratifying.
Yeah,
To say it, but then to have something that's tangible that comes out of it is like, okay, I can say all this, but it's tangible. We made friends out of it.
yeah,
That's
no,
tangible. You know
right.
what I mean?
No, absolutely. All right, Kyle. Well,
That's cool.
thanks again. I'm not so. Well, that. Hold on. Well, Kyle, thanks again for joining us and sharing your stories. I know I certainly enjoyed them, and hope everybody did as well. And I know Rambo is going to be blushing with all the the bouquets you've been throwing at him, but I think he deserves it too. But yeah, so
Rambo, seriously, I've listened to your songs on Instagram. They're fucking awesome. I love them. I'm nobody. That might not mean much, but I fucking love them.
no,
I love the whole desert twang, kind of beach vibe that it encapsulates. I love it, Rambo. I know those. Yeah, I'm nobody, but I love it.
No, I think that's gonna mean a lot. All right, from here we're gonna sign off, and again, thanks, Kyle, and yeah, we'll definitely be talking soon.
Memorable concerts. That's a tough one. Anyone that knows me knows that concerts are my number one hobby. I'm constantly hitting venues across Chicago and across the United States. I had to do some deep digging through the old Rolodex in my head to try to think of the ones that came to mind as the most memorable. One that sticks out going all the way back to my earliest concert days would be Pearl Jam, 1995, Soldier Field. few of my friends, we had got tickets, not through Ticketmaster. They were in a fight with Ticketmaster at the time, so we had to call on the phone. But we were able to get tickets on the field. It was unbelievable. There were a few different openers, Bad Religion, a couple other bands, but it was pretty awesome. The funny part about it is that my mom didn't let me go a few days beforehand to go see the Grateful Dead, and that turned out to be the last Grateful Dead show ever, because Jerry passed about a week later. So same stage, days later, I was allowed to go to Pearl Jam, not allowed to go to Grateful Dead. But that always sticks out. One of more recent vintage, Sturgill Simpson, when he was on the Sailor's Guide to Earth tour at the Riviera, me and my buddy got there super early. We got really close. We knew he was going to play a really long set, and then he was going to play the new album in its entirety, start to finish. And it was everything I wanted it to be and more. That was the first time I saw him. I will go see him anytime he comes to town ever since then. And the band has only gotten better and better and better. Last, I will pick a show from, well, in a month, it'll be 15 years exactly. It was Labor Day weekend. It was February 2nd, 2011. I went and saw Fish in Colorado, and a few of my friends went out. It was a bachelor party, and we got down on the floor. Show's going on. Everything's going great. I've seen them many, many, many times before, so it was just getting off to a good start, as many do. Guy to my right, it was about the fourth song. It was a cover of Sweet Virginia by the Stones. And guy goes, every single song is started with the letter S. I said, I think you're right. Lo and behold, that was the theme for the entire night. Every single song started with the letter S. They had a deep enough catalog, deep enough volume of covers that they do. And, we knew what was going on once someone alerted it to us. And at the same time, we were chomping at the bit to see what would happen next. Then I'll never forget, they finished the second set. Everyone's screaming for an encore. We had moved at that point. Another guy next to me screams sabotage at the top of his lungs, and referencing the classic Beastie Boys song. Boys walk back on stage, rip into Sabotage. It was perfect nightcap to a perfect evening. Those are three that stick out, but I could go on for days talking about wonderful concerts I've attended.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Kyle, for sharing your memorable live shows with us. Tune in next time. Me and Matt will discuss the highlights of today's episode and also share our own memorable moments.